Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be with you on this Monday afternoon. My name is Ernst from Bemmelen from Gent, and this is the first time that I am lecturing you. I'm a legal professional. I'm an attorney at law 1 day in a week with my own firm, and I used to be the program manager of the law program, so the other program in our academy. And I'm very pleased to be invited to lecture on good governance in your quarter 4. As I understood, you are all year 1 students of the SSMS program. And let me look around whether I see familiar faces of other programs. No, so you are all fresh in this quarter. I am trying to further my own skills as a lecturer. And for that purpose, I am enrolled in a course myself to develop an online course. And I selected this course on good governance as a case study. So I will try to make on Blackboard or other environments test questions and other tools that are common to online environment. And for that reason, and only for that reason, I record myself so that I can put that recording also on that virtual learning environment. And maybe that's of benefit for you, maybe not. That is to be seen. Today, I want to start slowly. I want to introduce, let's say, the issue, the topic, as in which problem do we solve. And I would like to do that introduction from the perspective of a professional. I will, and I call it an intermezzo, I will spend a few minutes on what is a legal professional, a person like me, a person who you might meet in the future around the table. And then I would like to extend that intermezzo to the professions that are connected to your program, to your study. I call that, by lack of a better word, SSMS professions, in the broad sense, because there is not one profession, but a multitude of professions. And then after the break, I want to tell you the story of the theory of a regulated market. That is behind this buzzword, good governance. I have a handout for that. And in that phase, I want you to lean back and relax and listen, because then I will tell you the full story of that theory of regulated markets, governance of regulated markets. And in all these subsequent weeks, and hopefully the sort of online assistant, are then taking each time a chapter of that story. And then the hope is, in 8 weeks, that we went through the whole narrative, the whole story, and that you have an insight in the topic. So that's the plan. And let's give it a start, let's give it a chance, and let's look at this picture. What do we see? A seal. Wonderful. What else? Ice. Ice? Safe contribution. Wonderful. Thank you.
Probably a Norwegian.
Say it again.
Probably a Norwegian person.
What? Yeah. Nationality. We are nationality blind sometimes. Yes. Go ahead.
Person attacking the seal.
Person attacking the seal.
I think it's one of those guys clubbing the baby seals in Canada.
Clubbing baby seals. What is the effect on the seal?
Well, maybe he's breaking the ice, so the seal can...
Yes. Alternative scenario. I like that. Because
Saving the seal.
because maybe he's saving the seal. Maybe he's saving the seal.
From polar bear.
If we add this picture and we position the story in this quarter as in industries, so what would you think if we link the two pictures? Is that person doing it as a sort of hobby, or is he not doing it as a hobby? What do we if we connect the two pictures? Yeah, you were saying?
Oh no, he said that if your hobby is clubbing baby seals, then you're kind of a psycho, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. It's at least a curious hobby.
It's a very interesting hobby.
So, what could we say if we mobilize, let's say, the general knowledge we have about this type of industry? What is then the assessment? What is our value label to this activity? Yes.
Well, they kill the seals for clothing, for their fur. They can use that for clothing or accessories, which will be worn by that they.
Ladies like that. So that is indeed a perfect sort of description of what is going on. And so this course is about people doing activities for a living. And so he gets sort of business profit / salary out of that activity. And you could sort of connect the word harvesting to this picture. He's harvesting fur, and that fur is a sort of raw material that is then processed to a coat. Like any other harvesting or mining activity, that is sort of middle of the road activity. And then my subsequent question to you as a group would be, do we have an opinion on this type of industrial activity? Yes.
It's essentially the same as happens everywhere in the world with other animals. The only relevant question would be, would you, by doing this, would you endanger, really endanger the species?
Yeah, and so like with fish and then other, let's say, natural resources, we could have a sort of warrior question about, will there be new seals in the future or not? If we do this too active, what other concerns do we have?
I think in general that most people see it as a negative thing because animals are being killed for eventually pleasure, because people have benefits of the jackets and things.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are against it. I think there are actually laws against, there's supposed to be laws against killing animals.
Yeah. Well, that is sort of spot on in terms of what this course is all about. That indeed, around such a story like this, that there are this sentiment, be it objectively justified or just a sentiment, is translated not in all countries, but in many countries into sort of rule and neighbor. What type of, if that negative sentiment is sort of prevailing, what legal rule, what norm is then declared? Let's say in Denmark or in the Netherlands or in certain states of the United States of America. What would be the narrative or the language of that norm? Who else?
Yeah, probably that you're not allowed to kill seals.
Let's hold that one. And then, what is the characteristic of rules? What can we say about rules? Say that again?
To protect society.
Yes, so they have a sort of function. They protect society. In this story, what type of protection does it give? The seal. Indeed.
The environment is what it's called? Ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
They are used to, rules are used to indicate moral boundaries, maybe. So what's immoral and what's considered immoral and what's considered moral.
Yeah, because the funny thing with those seals, maybe apart from, let's say, the technique to discontinue their life, is that, it's a mammal like cows and pigs, and they are harvested on a sort of industrial way. So apparently, if the sensitivity and the emotion is at a sort of certain level, and then in a certain country you have the luxury to say, let's not do this harvesting version. But let's not talk about the cows and the pigs, because how else do we then produce hamburgers and the like? So basically, sort of public opinion is then protected. We could loosely say in this stage of the course. And what is then the consequence of the legal rule? What happens if you continue to do it? Which is getting nearer and nearer to your sort of main core of studies. If let's say in traffic, sir, traffic rules, red traffic lights, what happens if you miss the red traffic light? What is then the consequence? Yes?
You get fined.
You get a fine, indeed. And if you are an engineer and you want to produce nuclear energy and you make your little nuclear energy plant, what do you expect the government will do if you do that in your student apartment? Yeah. You know, you're not in this program as a semester, but you're, you know, in the Delft, the engineering one, and you think, let's make a little nuclear plant. I have a little uranium. What do you expect the state will do?
They will
No, over here?
on me.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're gonna arrest me.
Yeah. Indeed. Well, I need a sort of extreme example to get away from the fine and to get to the handcuffs. And so the mainstream thinking is that we have a sort of commercial activity, and somehow down the line we think this is wrong. We create a legal rule, and then let's say the whole machinery starts. That if we have a rule, then we have to maintain the rule, enforce the rule, and then ultimately, let's say symbolically, the handcuffs are then, let's say, the symbolization of the enforcement of that rule. But I believe that this course is about that story. And then, the question would be, what is then the most appropriate way to develop those rules? Should we protect everything and basically ban any economic activity? Because the poor cows and the poor pigs and the poor rice plants and the poor corn plants, because they have potentially feelings too, or intelligence, who knows? If we have those rules, what is then an appropriate sort of enforcement mechanism? Should we recruit as many civil servants as that there are businesses, so that each business has a sort of seat, a chair, where a sort of supervisor is controlling the production, and who's going to pay that? And if there is a dispute between a supervisor and a company, how can that dispute be settled? Is there a law for a judge? What type of state organs are involved? What type of role and responsibilities do companies have? Well, that is sort of the main issue, the leading question of this course. And the intended learning outcome, as it is called in education, is that you, after 8 weeks, can tell a story that contains the answer to this question. And to exercise that, I will share with you literature I found. I will share with you examples in the United States of America and the European Union, to restrict it to those two territories. After all, almost 1 billion citizens, not the majority of the globe, but let's say 2 areas where the thinking on this topic, on this issue, is done on a daily basis. And we will exercise the development of an answer, and that you are able to write an essay or to answer questions on that issue in the subsequent weeks. So let's go back to the previous slide and start doing that exercise. So what I want you to do right now is to think of other goods and services other than the fur of a seal. Make a little list of goods and services you think they are or should be banned. Let's use your sort of current knowledge. I'll give you a couple of minutes for that, and then I would like you to share it with your neighbor, and then I give a few couples, a few duos the floor to share that list with. So that in 7 minutes we build a sort of collective list of that. And maybe sir in the back, could you join one of the other rows so that on average everybody has it. So I ask you to pick a piece of paper and make a little list of goods or services or electronically, a modern program, to make a little list of goods and services like the seals that are sort of taken out of business or that are subject to stringent rules, and we already have an example. If you want to have a nuclear plant in your student apartment to produce energy, which is a commodity in the economy, and then we all know that is not allowed. Yes?
Just a list or suggesting?
For the time being, a list, little list, and then we move to the justification in the course of the week. Good question. Any other question on this little task?
Do you want a list of things that are actually happening, or do you want something that is imaginary?
Let's start with that are already subject to stringent rules or prohibitions, and then maybe you add one or two that you think of that should be on the list. Okay, so let's start with your own list, a couple of minutes, so that you can mobilize your own thinking on the topic.
It's basically everything that is immoral.
Yes, so we come to the reasons, a little bit similar to your colleague, because that is then the beauty of this exercise, that we already have a few categories why morality or danger or safety